I like that.
I like reading Trevor Plouffe's stuff. He's got a lot of good takes.
Whoa! That happened. Can you believe that happened?
Whoops. How did that happen? Fun team. Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball's team profile and projections, your 18th best team in baseball history for the 23 season. It's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Always a hot button topic on Talkin Baseball. 73-89 last year. That was third in the AL West. They missed the postseason yet again. And man, they're going to be on the top tip of our tongue for a lot of reasons this year. Mostly that Shohei guy. But they also added and subtracted a good amount. They brought in Tyler Anderson after his breakout season with the Dodgers across town. 3 for 39, sure. Reliever Carlos Estevez had a really nice season last year. Brandon Drury, he could say the same, right? 2 years, $17 million. They're taking their chance on him. Brett Phillips brought in for some outfield depth. Baseball is fun. Gio Urshela and Hunter Renfroe via trade. Okay, those are ball players. Who they lost? Michael Lorenzen. He went to Detroit. A couple relievers are out. Matt Duffy is out. Touki Toussaint, Jonathan Villar, Archie Bradley. So, I don't know. The sum parts in compared to the parts out seem like a plus. We like that for the Angels. It's just, what does it mean? And Trev, what does it mean for that Halos lineup?
You know I like the Angels. You know I like this lineup. The people in it are hot. They're good at baseball. I think they're going to give the Angels a chance this year. We got Taylor Ward. You remember Taylor Ward's season last year? Real nice. He'll be in left field. Mike Trout in center field. Shohei, we know what he does. Anthony Rendon, remember him. This guy is a freaking animal when right. You mentioned Brandon Drury. He's in there. Jared Walsh at first base. At catcher, we got Stassi. We got O'Hoppe. They'll be splitting duties. Luis Renifo will most likely be at shortstop. They're going to kind of switch things around. They also have Gio Urshela, David Fletcher, Phillips, Velasquez. Like they have options here, and I think they're going to mix and match throughout the year in that infield. But some of those middle of the order bats are set, and I'm looking and I'm liking Jake and BBD and Biebers. Why don't you tell us about that pitching staff?
Oh, and before we do that quick BBD ad break to tell you guys even more about SeatGeek, all of our PPPs, TPPs, our whole preseason package here is brought to you by SeatGeek. Baseball is back, and to celebrate, SeatGeek's giving you a special offer. This is just for people who like us. This is a special one. John Boy preseason, 15% off your order, whether you're a first-time buyer or not. Doesn't matter if it's your first order. Take out your phone, open the SeatGeek app, add John Boy preseason as the code. Do it right now. Offer is only available through the end of March. March 31st, that goes away. Code John Boy preseason, all one word. And the Angels pitching, always a hot topic. Their rotation, it all starts with Shohei Ohtani, known for also being a very, very good hitter. He was their best pitcher by a lot last year, one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. Then it's a bunch of lefties. They brought in Tyler Anderson, like we said, Patrick Sandoval, good young arm, Jose Suarez, Reed Detmers threw a no-hitter last year, and some depth guys. They got Tucker Davidson, Chase Silseth, not in my book, Griffin Canning. In the bullpen, they got a couple guys contending to get some saves in there. Jimmy Herget, he's been in this office. Carlos Estevez, Ryan Tepera. Aaron Loop has some big years out of bullpens. Jose Quijada.
Oh, we don't like Aaron Loop on this show. We don't. Remember that, guys? We don't like Aaron Loop on this show.
We love Aaron Loop, man.
Oh, yeah, we do love him.
Why does he throw 98 now? Where did that come from? Aaron Loop. Yeah, that bullpen's... It's not flashy. They need some stuff to go right. We love Jimmy Herget. Trevor, the Angels, one of the hottest button topics, and we should nip this in the bud. John Boy, actually, and I'll be a little selfish, taking him away for my wedding for the next week or so. So we're backed up on everything. So the next few TPPs, he's not ducking your Halos.
He did
Angels
not know
fans.
Halos were next.
He loves your Halo. Yeah, he genuinely did not. We were laughing pretty good that they were the next team.
When he said he can't make it, I thought about texting Halos up first, and then I was like, that's
tough. That's tough. But
he'll move his schedule if I tell him that.
how about this, Trev? They need to prove him wrong, and I actually need them to prove me wrong, because last year I was buying in on the Halos, because there's always stuff you like with the program here. But at the end of the year, it always feels like a 90-loss team. So where do you start?
They have the pieces to be a playoff team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Angels fans often are in our comments talking about, hey, man, check out what our starting pitching actually did last year. Look at where the numbers ended up. And they're right. They had decent numbers at the end of the year. The problem last year was injuries. I mean, I threw a stat at you that I read on the internet. According to this article, I think it was in The Athletic, they gave the second most at bats in the major leagues last year to people who had under replacement value. That's not what you want. You got to have your boys in the lineup. And like I said, when I was going over this lineup, like there's some names in here you can get behind it. So I think health is going to be a big factor here. We need a big bounce back year from Rendon, a healthy Mike Trout, Shohei to continue doing what he's doing. And we'd love to see Taylor Ward continue off the year he put up last year. I mean, if you're talking about that happening with the pieces they have kind of mixing and matching down there at the bottom, you can buy into it. So, I mean, the things that we always talk about with them is they're in a pretty tough division now with the Mariners doing what they're doing. Obviously, the Astros are the best team in the American League, probably in the big leagues. It's that type of competition. With the balanced schedule, do you think it hurts them? Do you think it helps them? What do you think about that, Shaky Boy?
I guess I would lean help. We're coastal elitists. Again, we have no idea. We've been guessing, and it's become a joke of the program a little bit. But for me, the less you're playing the Houston Astros is a very good thing, and the less you're playing the Seattle Mariners, I believe, is a good thing. And we'll see if it matters with the Texas Rangers at all. But, all those organizations have a chance this year. The Astros and Mariners, more than a chance. Those are going to be very high-level baseball teams. So I guess I would lean that way. And, man, you really do have to do some mental gymnastics with this team because, okay, Trout and Ohtani, you don't. One guy has an argument for the best baseball player we've ever seen, and the other guy has an argument for the best baseball player we've ever seen. So those guys, okay, cool. I want to go to Taylor Ward and Brandon Drury because let's lump them together because they both had really nice last seasons, but that's kind of our body of work. Taylor Ward, late breakout. Brandon Drury, he's had some crazy stuff go on, including, problems with his vision and things like that, and it felt like it all came together. Okay, so those guys are in their bucket. Rendon, I don't know, man. I love to see him out there. When he's playing, it's still fun. Jakey Butterknife stat, they were 26-20 when Rendon started last year. Do I think that was all him? No, they got off to a nice start and things fizzled. But they gave him a lot of money to be a primo third baseman, and I think he still can. He's 32. Like, it's not – if Rendon's healthy, it's not over for him, man. And then what sneaky is one of my favorite transactions this offseason, Hunter Renfroe. It's a gun for hire, but this guy has been consistent year in, year out. And that's without mentioning like a Jared Walsh. And Trev, why I liked your depth piece mentioned so much, I haven't mentioned Gio Urshela, who's basically perfect Rendon insurance, had a nice year last year. It can play a little bit of shortstop. Like David Fletcher used to be one of the first guys you mentioned with the Halos. He currently isn't penciled into the lineup, at least on Fangraphs. And you mentioned Brett Phillips as a depth defensive outfielder, as good as you're going to get. And, if you need him for a week or two, I don't think you lose too much overall. I think offensively you do. With all that being said, I've now mentioned, 13 guys. So depth-wise, I like what they've done. It's just how does the sum all come together? Because I'm not betting on Rendon. I don't even know if I'd bet on Ward or Drury. If you gave me the option to bet on one of them clicking, I'd say yes. But there's still question marks in this lineup that ended up being, 23rd in OPS last year, 26th in on-base percentage, and that's with Trout and Ohtani. So if you took out those guys, everyone else wasn't working.
Yeah, I mean, there's depth, but there's lack of depth at some important positions. I think, middle infield defense is going to be something that they're going to have to look at. Hopefully Louis can go in there and do it, but they're going to be mixing and matching there. With the outfield depth, we mentioned Brett Phillips, but we didn't mention Joe Adell, Mickey Moniak. Like, these are guys that are players, man. And do they become trade candidates or something of that matter during the deadline when they go out and try to supplement this roster during the year? Because I do think they're going to be very competitive. I think they're going to be in it, barring health. If these guys are on the field, I think they have enough on this roster to be in contention for the playoffs come trade deadline. And then this is where we're going to have to make the biggest decision, maybe in franchise history. Jake, probably in franchise history. Think about that. Let that settle in real quick. I mean, what are we going to do with Shohei? That's going to be a massive storyline here. And you know what? For Angels fans, I would love if before we put this out, Shohei announced a deal, but I don't think that's going to happen, bro.
That's not.
So you're going to go into this season with that looming over you. What do we do at the trade deadline? Because we can't just you can't just keep Shohei and let him walk at the end of the year and get nothing for, like you had mentioned, one of the greatest players that we've ever seen. So Perry's in a very interesting position. The Angels are in a very interesting position franchise-wise. We had the Artie Moreno stuff going on in the offseason, him talking about selling the team, and then him saying, nah, I'm good. I'm going to keep it. So there's a lot of off-the-field storylines that are also playing out. But on the field, man, look, the entire pitching, all the pitchers are basically set. I mean, there's a few, maybe the sixth man in the rotation. There's a job there up for grabs. The bullpen's pretty much set. They're going to have to mix and match there for the closer role. But they have some guys that can do it. I'm buying into the Angels a little bit. I am. I don't think we can let previous years creep into the following year as much as we kind of want to. Mentally, we want to remember that, the Angels they haven't done well in the Mike Trout era. But you know what? This is a new season, a lot of new additions. We got to remember this is a new season and we got to go play it. So I'm liking the Angels.
It's a slippery slope because it's also, I did this last year, and as an organization, you cannot believe in them. And I think that's where Angels fans would agree with us, whether that's ownership or front office or wherever you want to put it. They have not achieved in the Mike Trout era. So that's where you end up talking in circles a little bit. I do like that you shouted out Joe Adell and Moniak, 23 and 24. I know it hasn't clicked at the big league level, but, one little thing happens and it does. And, their talent, Moniak was a 1-1. Joe Adell was the
great guy too.
Number 2 prospect in baseball a couple years ago. So that's where any baseball season has the hope and ability to change. It's why baseball is beautiful. It's what we saw the Orioles, break out last year. From a team that looked like they were going to win 60, they won 83. You have a couple things like that happen, and it can change a whole season's outlook. The pitching, Trev. The Angels, it is a little bit of a baseball-like inside joke, right? Angels and pitching. That kind of was the problem. It was good. They were 6th in starting pitcher ERA last year. Shohei Ohtani is a complete freak show. Pretty unreal. What?
Did you say hot boy or freak show?
Yes. Patrick Sandoval deserves some love. He's been a good lefty in the league for a couple seasons now. Tyler Anderson. Now that's one where if my friend Jim was here, it's a very interesting talking point because the Dodgers put them in their magic stew, and he came out the other side as a nasty pitcher. If that translates to the Angels, good. There's not a long track history of like, hey, I got the potion from these other guys. I'll just be good everywhere else. It's not really how the sport works. So that's where the skepticism comes in, and rightfully so. I'm not sitting here telling you Tyler Anderson, and even going back to the lineup, that Brandon Drury's going to do it again for a full year. It's really hard, Trev. You and I know players. It's hard to put it together for multiple seasons like that if you're not the Vladitos or Bonds or whoever you are. Like it's a tough game. The Ploufs, excuse me. Jose Suarez, Detmers, their rotation, their starting pitching rotation wasn't the problem last year, where I think for the past decade or so, that's almost where you started. There is blow up potential, which is scary. If it's just Shohei and the boys, Shohei, a solid Sandoval, and then the rest falls off or doesn't click or injuries, their pitching can become thin quick, and that's where the one season from last year, it's not like you can hit the table and be like, yeah, the Angels starting pitching will be great this year.
Well, then the boys better bang, right?
Huh. Hear that.
I think you mentioned something that, Angels fans always talk about, and it's the lack of player development, the lack of investment into the minor league system, that they always point to that, and they talk about Artie's tenure and how he has not done a good job in that. Now, it seems to me like that's a pretty easy fix. I mean, it's not a quick fix, but it's an easy fix. You can do it. You spend a little money. You make sure that all your affiliates are up to date with anything you need technology-wise. You start to hire better people in your minor league system. And how do you do that? You just pay them a little more people. It's not like a difficult thing. Like, this is Jake Storielli could do this type of thing. So they need to start there. And that takes time, though. So you're talking about Tyler Anderson learning from the Dodgers player development side. Can he bring that over? Well, shoot, I hope so. I hope that they have people that can support that and continue to have him thrive, because the Dodgers found a way to do it. And one season leading into the next, I know it's difficult to repeat, but you should be able to at least, whatever changes he made, you should be able to take those over to this year. So look, man, we're talking about a very competitive Angels team. I truly do believe that. We saw some potential at the beginning of last year, then things fell off a cliff, but that had a lot to do with injuries. So let's stay healthy. I would love, there's nothing, we talk about this shit all the time, man. Like, we want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs. We want to see Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, interested to see some of their pitching depth pieces. Got Chris Rodriguez. He's got a good heater. He had a pretty good season last year. Griffin Canning was a guy that's done a little bit at the major league level. So, yeah, I guess their depth is a little more interesting to me than I thought it would be, and I wonder how that contributes, especially with your lineup stats from last year. And, yeah, man, they have – Ohtani will be the number one storyline of this season. So how does that play out? I mean, with a hot start, can the good baseball juices get flowing in Anaheim? If they have a bad start, my goodness, the press and everything that comes with that is going to be chaotic. On the offensive side, the young guy, Logan O'Hoppe, they traded for him. He was the other part of that Brandon Marsh trade. Brandon Marsh, we saw him playing center field in the World Series for the Phils. O'Hoppe, friends with our guy Nicky Cass. He's kind of the young guy outside of those outfielders we mentioned that he should be having himself in the mix this year. To what level, we'll find out. What's the over-under on this team, Beebs?
81.5.
Oh.
Sorry, I had it in my mind.
You're hot. You're hot right now. So they're projected to be a 500 team.
This is great. Do you believe the Angels are an above 500 team? That's the question here. I want you to go first. I don't want my. I already have mine. I don't want my decision to influence you.
Trev, I will give you my reasoning, and they're not always reasons I believe in, but it's kind of where I'm handcuffed. The Astros are still dominant. The Seattle Mariners are still just as good as they were last year, if not better. The Texas Rangers have a chance to be a breakout team this season. The Angels made moves that should make them better, but so did everyone outside of the Athletics. That I got burnt by the Halos last year. I believed in what they were trying to do with the program, the high-level talent. That I'm taking the under, just where they've left me organizationally.
I don't really have great reasoning. I feel like I've explained myself throughout this episode. I'm
Sure.
taking the over. I'm buying in.
Okay.
I mean, I think I can see. I hope they're a playoff team. I could see this team winning 86 games. Is that going to be enough to get into the playoffs? Was it last year? I don't know. Probably should check that out. But I think we're talking about two of the best players in baseball on the same roster, and they've started to supplement the talent around them. We've been asking for that. I think they've done it enough that we might see them knocking on that last wild card door. Taking the over.
And it's where you can start spinning this whole Ohtani equation. I don't think they're going to trade him because I think the front office is too scared to, and I don't know the return they would get, and I think they'll be in the mix enough, which on the flip side of that would mean, okay, that means they have to add, because you can't keep Ohtani at the deadline.
I didn't really
add.
I didn't
Or
really
if they
factor
trade
it
him,
into my
it's dead.
over-under.
It's like wherever you stand on Ohtani almost has to factor in. If you think they'll trade Ohtani, it almost has to be the under. If you don't, it almost has to be the over, because that would mean that they're going to add and try to believe in this. So that almost leads to your vote, which ironically, I think they're going to keep him, but I also think they're going to fail. So I just kind of lied.
I don't know what to think, because in my mind, Shohei's gone. And this is going to spark a massive conversation now that we probably should not be doing.
I don't know. I don't know.
Keep Ohtani, try to re-sign him as best you can. I don't know. That's bad for your baseball business, but that's what all the fans want. I'm taking the over. End show.
I think Jimmy's under.
Oh my God.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
Shohei, what? Perry, I'm sorry.
Perry. Trev,
this
get in his ear,
decision.
man. He needs a right-hand man.
Hey.
Could be you.
I have my things with the Angels organization. You understand that.
I do. Halo up. Comment. Subscribe.
Why are we wrong?